Hi, I'm Judy Craig with Edina Realty, and today I get to talk with Paul Miller. He's my trusted accounting advisor with Business by Design. And one of the big topics that is swirling around with everyone is how are the new tax codes going to impact us in our home ownership?
Really, for someone to say, how is this generally going to affect me, you got to kind of know there's just going to be different groups of people that are affected different ways. Most people, though, should probably see about the same or maybe a little bit less that they pay in taxes through the net of all that.
Okay.
That would be how I would generalize it.
Well, let's talk about how this is impacting some of my clients that are deciding, what should we do about home ownership and what's the pros or cons, because there's been some changes in how much. I don't think it's really going to impact a big chunk of the community, but the deductions that you can take from mortgage interest.
Yeah, so mortgage interest was on the chopping block. You know, there was all over the map before they settled on a number. It's basically $750,000 combined of all mortgage indebtedness. So where this gets a little confusing for people is that mortgage interest is only a deduction for the interest on that property. So let's say, as an example, I buy a home, I get a mortgage for $500,000. I can write off that $500,000 interest. That's the deduction to me. Okay. If I take a home equity loan and say I get a home equity loan for $250,000, I use that $250,000 to improve that property. Home improvements. Yep. I'm good. I've got $750,000. That interest is going to be a deduction, no problem.
Awesome.
If you took that $250,000 in equity and I did something else with it,
like pay for college,
or
cars or boats.
Or the example that was given recently is something I saw was I take that $250,000 and I just buy a place down in Florida. I'm going to pay cash for it. Okay. Now that interest is non-deductible because that interest is only a deduction if it's on that particular home.
So even if you're investing in other real estate, there's that doesn't work that way, but there's another way around it?
Well, as investment property. So if so a lot of times people might be using an equity position to buy a second home.
Right.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. So that you got to be careful about how you do that.
Okay.
If I buy that second home interest, I want to put a mortgage on that property. So instead of using equity from my home, my main residence,
it's better to have another mortgage
on that property.
Because then you can combine those to be the
That is correct. Then combined, it's $750,000.
But the home equity shouldn't function as that.
That's correct. See how easy this stuff is?
Right. I might as well just help out with your people.
I know. Yeah. So, but you were referring to definitely people could take equity and still buy investment property. You know, I could take $250,000 equity position and use that to buy a rental property. That interest is a deduction not as a mortgage principal residence interest, it's a deduction on that rental schedule.
So then you would write that up on a whole different way, but
That's correct.
I could still utilize that equity and go buy a couple rental properties?
Exactly.
Well, if you're thinking about making some changes, I do recommend that you contact your accountant to find out how this impacts you. But if you have questions, feel free to give me a call, Judy Craig, Edina Realty, 651-303-1200.